Okay, if I am not mistaken, we are live. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. Welcome back to the L1X AMA. A few new faces, from the last few AMAs. Of course, we have Chief, a new face, and we have Dr. Neeraj. Um, of course, Leono, as always, is there. Um, so, we're going to do things a little differently today. And, we'll start off with Dr. Neeraj, as promised in the last AMA. We'll look at the swap fee comparison. We'll jump on to Leo, who will also demonstrate the new swap. And we will also look at what's upcoming in the new swap module, right? So, so the team has been working pretty hard. And I'm very excited to actually even show you what's upcoming in the new swap module. And then we'll move on to the questions. Yeah. So, okay, Neeraj, Dr. Neeraj, if you want to kickstart.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. Hello, all. Today we'll be having a like brief discussion about the swap price comparison across different exchanges available in the market. So let me share my screen. So in this, for this purpose, what we have done is we have selected few exchanges and then uh, we are actually just a second. I'll just share my tab. Okay, I'll just share my entire screen. Okay. I hope you are able to see my screen now, a comparative Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. So, as we can notice, what we have done is we have taken these 8 exchanges apart from L1X to do a comparative analysis as to how the swap fees are being charged to the end user. So, we have taken Stargate Finance Economy, Stargate Finance Fast, Squid Router, XSwap Link, dBridge, Portal Bridge, Bridgers, and All Bridge. So these prominent exchanges have been taken to do the comparative analysis. So for this purpose, what has been done is we have selected like 8 networks as such, which includes Binance, Ethereum, Avalanche, Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, Solana, and Tron. So as of now, in this comparison, we have skipped Tron as such, but we have done the comparison among the rest of the blockchains. So on the left hand side, this column, you will be able to notice the source networks, whereas in this row, these are the destination networks. So what we have tried to do is, we were transferring say 5 USDC across these chains to see how these exchanges are charging the swap fees. Apart from that, we are also focusing on breakdown of the fees. So say when we want to initiate a swap, we are required to approve the transaction, and after that, we are submitting the transaction. So we are charged for the approval as well as we are charged for the submission. So during submission, there are two fees that are getting charged. One is the source network fee, and other is the exchange fee. Now, apart from that, what happens is some exchanges charge you in different ways. So, what are those? We will cover that during our discussion today. So, for this purpose, we have actually like triggered all these transactions on the live networks to get the actual prices. So definitely we'll be sharing the transaction details, the entire data as well with you all in a day or two. Okay, so let's start to have a glimpse over this comparative sheet. So the first one that we have is the Binance network working as the source and the other networks as the destination. So say taking this highest price as example. What we are trying to do is I'm trying to transfer 5 USDC from Binance to Ethereum. So the charge that is getting applied, the total like fees that we are paying is $27.92 on what? On Squid router actually. So definitely this is the highest that we are paying when we are going from Binance to Ethereum, transferring 5 USDC. So similarly, like if we have a look, what are the charges by other bridges? So in this case, you can notice the next highest is by all bridge in this case, which is 15.28, followed by Star Stargate Fast, which is 14.8, and then by followed by D bridge 12.65. Now, if you notice, it is comparatively quite low in bridges and Stargate economy. So, in this way, we'll be able to notice that at some places, some exchanges are charging very high, whereas other exchanges might be charging you low. So, like say, if you take another example, say Polygon. So in this case, what is happening is, if you notice, the highest fee is charged by D-Bridge in this case. When I'm going from, say, Binance to Polygon, transferring 5 USDC. So if you notice, we are charging, uh, this D-Bridge is charging $3.73. Okay, whereas if you notice for other exchanges, it is quite low as such. Even though like for Portal Bridge is charging 1.92, but when it comes to rest of the bridges, it is less than $1 as such. So you see, there is quite a lot of difference with respect to the fee that is being charged by the different exchanges. So if we notice like what are the factors that are contributing to these fees, at that time we'll be able to have a better like opinion that why is it so, or is it justifiable. And from end user perspective, it would be more like that the fees that is being charged, like is it justifiable in the sense how much is going to the exchange, and like how much is actually the fees that we are required to pay to the source and the destination as a part of it. Okay, so we'll have a look at that as well. So similarly, say if we take Ethereum as the source network. So as we all know, definitely Ethereum is among the like expensive network because the gas price is definitely quite high in Ethereum. So again, if we notice which one has been the expensive one in this entire case where Ethereum is the source network. So if you notice, this is the one. So this is when we are, say, transferring 5 USDCs from Ethereum to Avalanche. Okay, and in this case, the fee that has been charged is $30.86 by XSwap link. So this is the charges that we are paying. Now compare it to the other exchanges, how they are charging. So if you notice D-Bridge, the second highest is 15.82. And when it comes to All Bridge, similar in the same range, 15.12. And it is in the range of 11 or 12 with the other exchanges. So definitely, considering the higher gas price of Ethereum, the fees is higher, but then in some exchanges it is like relatively much higher. So these are the different like cases that we can observe. So say if I want to take the scenario Ethereum to AVEX. So let us see the breakup of these gas prices and try to get an idea how this fees is getting split. Okay, so we are focusing Ethereum to AVAX. So I'll go to this sheet. So as you can observe, this sheet actually contains all the transaction details as such, based on which we have actually filled this price sheet. Okay, so coming to Ethereum to Avalanche. Okay, now in this case, if you notice, say, D bridge. Okay, how much is it charging 15.824, out of which, if you notice, to the network for submission, only $8.11 is going. So you can say, if we say reduce 15 out of 8, almost around $7 is going to exchange as a part of, say, their exchange fee or liquidity fee. So it is counting to almost like double the price the network has charged at that moment. Similarly, if you notice here in this case of XSwap link, the submission fee itself is very high, whereas their like comparatively exchange fee is somewhere around 2.12 dollars as such. Okay, now when we come to Portal Bridge, so yes, their exchange fee is comparatively very less in this case, around $0.29. Whereas if you come to Allbridge or Target Finance, if you notice their fees, okay, sorry, it is their fees uh, has been comparatively less. So when we go to XSwap link along point 2.1, it is charging 0.02, which comes down to $2.12 as such. And Squid Router, we have, it is charging $1.16 as a part of the exchange fees. Okay, so coming here with the swap fee difference as such, it is comparatively less on Stargate and in between somewhere for the all bridge between like Stargate and the other networks for the with respect to all bridge. So this is how the like fee is being charged. So what we can conclude is here, like the exchange is charging quite high as such, almost the double as such. Okay, and in this case, they are charging you somewhere around two. This is in the range of more than $1, and only in all bridge and Target Finance, it is less than 50 cents. We can say. Okay, so this is how it's getting breakup. So now moving forward to other networks. So here we have AVAX or Avalanche as the source network. Now, even in this case, if you notice, definitely AVAX to Ethereum has been the costliest as such, because it includes the destination gas fees. But apart from that, if you notice, say if we take AVAX to Polygon, how is it getting charged? So if you notice, it is in the range of 16 cents to somewhere as high as $1.79. So see, there's a quite a lot of difference between these figures as such. But then, as we know that Stargate, Stargate Finance economy works in like batches, submits the transactions in the batch form as such. So that is the reason they are able to like cut down the transaction fees and make it cheaper as such. So say if we want to have a quick look at the breakup of these fees, we'll go to AVEX sheet, okay, and we were looking for what? We are looking for AVEX to Polygon, okay. So we are going to AVEX to Polygon. So let us have a look. How is it getting taken up? So if you notice, the approval fee is very low on AVEX as such, which is somewhere around 0.04. But if you notice for dBridge, it's quite high as such comparatively. Same, okay, not in case of Allbridge because there was one more transaction. So 0.04 has been the common as such approval fees. Next, coming to the submission fees. So if you notice this fee range, it has been uh, somewhere around, you can say, 20 cents to 52 cents as such. But then now here comes the exchange fee that is being charged. So this entire uh, three components actually sum up to the charges that the user is paying to the exchange in some or the other form. So as I told at the start of the session, what are these different forms? So this is say when I want to transfer 5 USDC. So instead of 5 USDC, what is happening is from my wallet, they are deducting 5.105484 USDCs. So definitely it is being shown when you are uh, submitting the transaction, but in different formats as such, right? Because the fees they are showing is only this much, and this much USDCs are getting deducted from your wallet apart from the file or the amount of USDC you want to transfer, right? And this is the you can say liquidity fee, because say if I transferred 5 USDC on my like destination wallet, I'm not receiving 5 USDC. This much amount is getting deducted. So that is the case. All these three things are contributing to the amount that is getting uh, that is going to the exchange or the bridge as such. Okay, so if you notice the fee which has been charged by the network as such, source network as such is point 22 cents. Okay, and the rest is going to the exchange as such, which definitely includes the destination fees as well. But when we talk about the proportion of the fees that is charged, so definitely as we can notice that it is comparatively quite high in debridge in this case, also high for XSwap link as well. Okay, whereas it's somewhere in between for skewed router and quite low for Stargate Finance, both the cases and all bridge as such. So, in conclusion, like with respect to the amount that you want to transfer or the gas fee that is getting deducted, we are paying comparatively larger amount to few exchanges as such. So, similarly, we can just go through other source networks like say Polygon as such. So generally, if we observe, Polygon, Optimism, and Arbitrum are comparatively cheap or cheaper networks as such with respect to the gas fee or the approval fee they charge. So if I just run you through this sheet of Polygon swaps, so you would notice that most of the time for approval, they are charging the like native fees in poll that low that like it doesn't count up to two decimals in the uh, count up to two decimals in the approval fees as such. Okay, so that is the reason you will see for Polygon, Optimism, and Arbitrum, this fees is actually quite low as such. So if you notice, sometimes Target economy charges as low as 0.03 or 0.10, which is around 3 to 10 cents as such in this range. But then if you notice, even for such a case, XSwap Link is charging you $1.34, whereas dBridge is charging you 53 cents and Allbridge is charging 86 cents. So there are variety of like exchanges with different fee structure and how it is getting charged. But the main idea behind it is, apart from this price, one more thing which is very important from the end user perspective is nothing but the time. How much time is being consumed by this exchanges to complete the transaction. In the sense, at the destination wallet, you are able to get the USDC, say the amount that you had transferred. So that is another like perspective through which we'll be discussing further. So similarly, we have this optimism polygon. If you notice, the range is quite low as such, but as we know, for few exchanges, definitely the fee is high, but then their speed is also quite high as compared to the exchanges which are like providing you the same service at a like substantially very low prices as such. Now, finally, I come to Solana. So, as you notice in some of the bridges, Solana is not supported. Sometimes there is no liquidity present with the exchanges, or sometimes like they don't support it, or in some cases, like bridges, they might be requesting you to like say initiate a transfer of a higher amount. They are not supporting transfer of a low amount of uh, like native asset or crypto exchange as such. So in this case, that is the reason we have covered only thin bridges, which are D bridge, portal bridge, and all bridges. Now, if we have a quick look at the data of these three bridges, you will be able to notice that among them, like sometimes D bridge is the one charging you the highest. Sometimes it is all bridge. Depends like where you are, like which is your destination network as such, right? So, but in general, this is the range in which you are getting charged for the Solana uh, like transactions when your source network is the Solana network as such. Okay, so this is the thing. Now, next, what I would like to like discuss with you is what are the gas prices or the traffic prices charged by L1X. Okay, so here in this, we are going to do a quick look with respect to the exchanges. So in this previous sheet, what we were doing was we were comparing the prices for the um, same set of networks, source and destination for different bridges. Now, in this sheet, we are going through and analyzing the same data, but from the perspective of the bridges, in the sense, what is the range of a bridge, how they are charging for the different networks. So starting with deep bridge, in this case, what we are doing is we are able to notice is that we have this source networks here and we have the destination network listed in this row and how they have been charged. So in this case, if we have a quick look, definitely we'll be able to say whenever Ethereum is there, we have comparatively higher gas prices at D bridge. And if we want to have a look like what is the lowest D bridge has charged, so we'll be able to notice that say 0.56. I guess this is seems to be the lowest one as such, which is from Polygon to Arbitrum. Okay, yes, I guess this is the lowest one which D bridge has charged considering the speed which the bridge provides. So in general, the range of price, if we see at D bridge, it is somewhere in the range of $3 to $4 and and going say as high as you can notice $15.82. So this is the general range of D bridge. Similarly, if I talk about say squid router, then in that case we are able to see how it has been charged. So definitely it is quite low at some places, especially as we initially I said for Polygon, Optimism, and Arbitrum. Generally, the fee is very low as such. So definitely, this is at one place it is charging very less as such 0.2, 0.18 when it is coming to Arbitrum and Optimism as both source as well as destination network. But then in some cases, definitely the fees is higher as such, ranging say for specifically Ethereum as a destination, it is always like going about $13 as such, right? So this is a comparative study. But now, if say we have a quick look at the transactions that we had done for the L1X. So starting with the first one, which is Binance to Ethereum, where we are charging 2.2, if $2.2. So say if I want to compare this swap price with other networks, let us have a quick look how they have charged. So if you notice for this, DBit was charging somewhere around 12.65. So that is quite a large difference as such. Okay. Squid Router, as we have seen, 27.92. Okay. Similarly, in Stargate Economy, it is 14.8. In Stargate Fast, it is 5.02. Right? The bridges is quite low compared competitive we can say as compared to L1X, which is 2.47, whereas we had 2.2. So and definitely in all bridge it is quite high, 15.28. So this is the scenario when we are going from Binance to Ethereum transferring. 5 USDCs. See, if I want to take an example of this, uh, going from Solana to Binance, where we are charging 0.70, which is 70 cents, $0.7. So in this case, if we want to have a quick look, so extract link doesn't support Binance, so that is the reason we don't have any entry here. If I just come down, okay, the thing is Solana is actually not supported by many of the bridges or exchanges, maybe because of liquidity issue or like other concerns. So let us have a look where we have some
It's
figures for it. So if you
that's
notice,
that's that's because they're a bridge and they can't do that.
yes, yes. So, like if you notice the prices on all bridge going from Solana to Binance, it is 1.28. On Portal Bridge, it is 1.83. And whereas on D Bridge, it is much, much higher, 4.32. So this is the cheapest price that L1X is offering, say when we want to have any transaction from Solana to Binance. Similarly, say if I go from Solana to Ethereum to transfer 5 USDC, this is this much we are getting, we are charging the end user, which is $3.02. So see, if I go for comparison again, let us see how other exchanges are charging. So on on DBridge it is 10.57, on Portal Bridge it is 7.83, and on All Bridge it is 13.72. So if we notice there is a large difference between how L1X is charging and the cheapest option that we have available in the market now. It is less than half of that itself, right? So if I take this Polygon to AVEX scenario, okay, so here we are charging 11 cents as such. So see if I go to Polygon to average, extract link is charging 1.72. Stargate fast, yes, this is a competitive price, 0.15 dollars, which is 15 cents. If I go to Squid Router, it is more than $1. If I go to Digit, in this case, yes, surprisingly it is less, 55 cents as such. But then, yes, it is 5 times what L1X is offering. Okay, similarly, Portal Bridge, it is 0.86, in the sense 86 cents, whereas in All Bridge it is 46 cents. So this is about the quick view of the swap price comparative analysis that has been done based on the price breakup, which is done to approve the transaction, submit the transaction, and then how the exchanges are charging the customer based on exchange fees or the extra USDCs that you are required to pay, or the liquidity uh, fee difference which is there. So this is from my side. I would request Kevin to give inputs on this.
Yeah, I think, I mean,
Okay.
we will definitely
Yes.
share this information
Yes.
with you with all the data that we have. With regards to, two pointers mainly. The first one is that we don't want to hide any fees. So one thing that we noticed was a lot of times when you go to these exchanges and you punch in, 5 or you punch in 100, it does definitely show you on that widget that you are going to receive 99 point, something. But when you go and approve and submit the transaction, you are paying two types of fees, as Dr. Neeraj has mentioned, which is the amount that you want to send, which is the 100, plus the amount that you are actually paying for the destination gas fee, and also the fee that the exchanges are charging. So if you are going to the widget of L1X and you are looking at the fee description, that has the Xstock fee, that has the liquidity provider fee, and that has the destination gas fee associated. So that's number one. And number two is currently majority of the fees are going into the approval and submission process um, when you are actually initiating the transaction on the source chain. And with the ability of the direct swap, where you do not have to approve and submit a third party contract to transfer any funds, you can actually reduce your gas fee. For example, if you do it on Ethereum, you could reduce it from $11 to 40 or 50 cents. And the reason for that is in approval and submission, the gas units that you require are quite high, whereas you only need 21,000 units when you make a transfer. So even though we are competitive in the fee model right now, there are certain places where our fees are even higher. But when it comes to Solana and any of the other chains, EVM chains, it is definitely lower than dbridge and allbridge. So we will want to focus on Solana, and we want to focus on direct swaps, without connecting your wallet for the EVM chains. Although you might see that the target finance economy is cheaper, the time taken for that transaction is is higher. Now we have tested them. It's not just a single transaction. We have done multiple transactions at certain times of the day as well, to understand the fee structure. Um, and once the direct swap is also integrated, that is the time it will be exciting to see how much of a difference it makes for the fees overall. But yeah, that was good, Dr. Neeraj. Thank you for that. Okay, moving on. I think, Leono, if you want to go ahead with the swap and you want to demonstrate the new widget as well.
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. Let me present. Perfect. Are you all able to see my screen? All right. So let's do a swap. Since we recently launched Solana, so let's do a swap from BSC, BNB to Solana, and since it's EVM to non-EVM, I'll have to enter my wallet address. So let me just add my address. I've entered my address. It's locked. And I'll just transfer $10 worth of BNB. I'll approve the transaction. So this is my total fee. That includes the asset value as well.
While Leonel is on that, I just wanted to mention the processing transfer here. The source initiated the xstop, the destination initiated and completed. So what we have actually done is, from the time you initiate the transaction on the source and xstop picks it up, right? Before, what was happening was a lot of time was being spent on the source initiated. And that particular approval process, right, was getting fit into the xstock system, where people thought that it's basically xstock that's taking all the time to process the transaction. So we have segregated this, and the reason we have also segregated this is it allows us to understand where most of the transactions are failing some of the times between EVM and non-EVM. And at the same time, a three-layer fallback mechanism has been put in place, where it now allows us to make sure that if the transaction is processed on the source chain, xstock picking up the transaction, and if it's not completed in a certain amount of time, it falls under the fallback mechanism, which also has a queue. And in less than 10 minutes, that transaction will be completed whatsoever. So your transaction will never take more than that time. Previously, what was happening was, because we didn't have a lot of the status trackers installed in these in the system, the transaction went on, and if it failed, it went to the ticketing system where you had to manually go in, raise a ticket and process it. But now, if the transaction doesn't complete in a certain amount of time, the fallback system or the queuing system in place will kick back in and complete your transaction within less than 10 minutes.
Thanks, Kevin. It should be initiated shortly on the destination. Okay, so it's initiated and it's completed as well. Let me check the wallet balance. So it should increase by 10. And as you can see, there's 18.53 that's added. So the previous balance was 9. Now it's added by 9 point something. So that was pretty decent amount of time. And as you can see, as Kevin mentioned as well, we have implemented a few layers so that even if the transaction is taking longer or something goes wrong on the destination change, we have handled it. So that will be a good user experience as well.
Um, just on that, right? On somewhere else, of course, it takes more fees and it takes twice as much time. But just on that, I just like to mention over here that majority of the time goes into this one process, which is the RPC endpoints that allow you to connect your, node, which is the L1X node, to the other blockchain systems. So we have three different layers over there as well of RPC nodes. So for example, quick node, where you want to go, the Xtalk node has to go and fulfill the transaction on Solana. That RPC endpoint itself fails most of the time. And this has caused us a lot of investigation as to how to best fulfill this, because there is there is a security risk of double spending. So we have come up with a way where it has certain amount of RPCs available in a bucket, and the Xtalk nodes are going and connecting to these RPCs, and whichever connects first, that particular Xtalk node goes and processes the transaction. So, and even if that Xtalk node fails, there are other Xtalk nodes available to go and process that transaction in that particular time. So this layer of fallback mechanisms allow us to complete the transaction. And again, I'll say this again, which is once the direct swap comes in, the transaction speed and the cost will be much faster, because already we have a fewer amount of contracts, and with the direct swaps, the number of contracts will further reduce down by more than half. So I think this fallback mechanism has worked, and there are people who have gone in and tested the system as well, or even swapped within the community. So this weekend, we will be going in and deploying more liquidity to it. So currently, you will be able to do, once the liquidity is deployed, you will be able to do around $2,000 to $3,000 worth of swap per transaction. So the reason we have kept it to that limit is that so you don't go and exhaust all the funds in certain liquidity pools. And that amount will be increased as time progresses. But as we have seen, even on other decentralized exchanges, the average swap value is around 1,250. So that's how we are actually approaching this, where $2,000 to $3,000 per swap per token. There are so many permutations and combinations, is a number that we can work with, and gradually increasing it.
Thanks, Kevin. Now, since the swap is completed, I'll just walk you all through the new UI that's coming, that will be published soon, somewhere around next week. Let me share my screen again. Perfect. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah. Okay, so this is the new UI. What we have is we have a feature for swap directly that Kevin explained, and we also have the existing UI that we are already using. Now, I'll walk you through with the price comparison as well, as few of the users already posted in the group, if we can have it in a graph format. So this is how it's going to look like. Now, for the best user experience, instead of going and switching, the networks or the assets, we already have the most common use pairs. So the user has to just click on it, and it's gonna set it up for you. Just enter the values, and you should be able to do the swap, right? Now, everything that Neeraj has explained can be seen in this format over here. So any user wants to come and just have a comparison between L1X and the other exchanges at that moment of time, or maybe the average for the last few days, they'll be able to come to the screen and have a comparison. The next screen that we have is assets. So this is just your wallet profiler. All assets from all different chains will be displayed over here. So you just get an overview of all the assets present on your address. And all your transactions that are done on L1X will appear under the transactions section. Now I'll walk you through the swap direct feature. So it will be simple. What users have to do is basically go and enter the amount they have to swap, right? This is without connecting your wallet, right? So you enter your amount, you choose your assets, you click on next. You have to enter your source wallet address, your destination wallet address, as simple as that. And you click on next. And you'll have to deposit the exact value that you initially have added. And once you're deposited, you have to click on next. And then once the transaction is completed, the contracts are going to execute the transaction, verify if you have actually sent that amount, and you will be receiving equivalent amount or the promised amount on your destination network. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Just on that, if you can just keep the screen as it is, thank you. So, and a couple of things here, which is this swap widget, right, that we have. We don't want to push the Connect wallet for a long time. And we want to move towards a direct swap mechanism. So the reason for that also is that some of the aggregators that have come back, they've asked for certain APIs, and these APIs are different to different aggregators. Now, what happens over here is that there is more infrastructure to be maintained, more resources required, more things can go wrong. So to reduce that, the direct swap only has 3 different APIs, and you can call that from any different project, number one. Number two, the preferred swap pairs over there, the reason we wanted to keep it there is even when you come through the direct swap and you put in your source wallet address or your destination wallet address, it will pick up the most favorable transactions that you have done, so that it reduces the burden of you going in and entering those pairs each and every time. The price comparison over there is so that people coming in actually know that for every token pair that you select, it will adjust the graph accordingly. And this currently is statically done, so it's not dynamically loaded in the swap comparison. But we are working on analyzing how do we make this dynamic. every week, this will be updated with the most recent data. So be aware that the price comparison may be a week old comparison there. But as long as the users coming in understand this is a comparison across the different exchanges, so that they can make the best decision for themselves. And the direct swap thing is going to be mobile view compatible, so that you don't have to go in there, connect your MetaMask from the phone, and uh, disconnect, connect another account. So the direct swap widget will allow you from your phone, right, to swap because you already have MetaMask on your phone, most of the users in Web3. So you don't want to connect it to any other external site. So we are aiming for the direct swaps specifically for Solana and EVM, token pairs, and at the same time with the mobile view compatibility. So the reason as well the whole widget is being updated is, as I mentioned previously, our focus on swaps is going to be stronger for the rest of this year and moving forward. But at the same time, the fees that we are actually collecting right now, the LP fee and the fees that come in from the swaps, are to be distributed across the NFT holders that we currently have. So the swaps are live. The fees are already being collected. The Explorer has also been updated with a swap, a sub module where you will only see all the swap transactions. And we are also working on a dashboard where you will be able to see the swap statistics, which is the total number of swaps that are done. What is the most preferred swap, which is from network to network. Also at the same time, the fees that are collected and distributed to the NFT holders, that will also be there. So we are working on that. Leono is working on a Tableau view of that particular data set. And once we have the Tableau view of that data set, we will convert it into what we want to display on the L1X app. Apart from that, the last thing, as I would mention over here, is that once you remove the Connect wallet from here, and that is what we expect to do in the next few months, right? We just take it off once we know that the Swap Direct works flawlessly, like how the Connect wallet works right now. We want to take this widget and allow other projects to install this widget on their websites, as I mentioned previously, with the price comparison, with the preferred swap pairs, um, you know, and with the assets as well, because the moment you put your source address, your assets can be fetched and your transactions can be fetched. So this widget won't require you to connect your wallet anywhere. And number two, the Telegram, bot, as I mentioned. So I haven't heard anything from the community yet regarding the Telegram bot as to why we should not do it, apart from the fact that if we can take care of the validation of the bot, it should work. But these two things are our force of pushing the product for swaps out there. Yeah. Okay. I think you can stop your screen share now. Thanks for that, Leona. Yes, Mike, do you have anything to say? Do you want to comment anything? And I know you weren't well, so I hope you're doing well now.
Yeah. I was off last week for a few days there, and just going through some sorting out a few things on the health side, which is it's got some good news today, so that was good. But I think it was really good to walk through those swaps, and I think probably the best thing that we're seeing there is starting to see that graph in there where you can see visually the price differences on other chains. That makes a big difference to people. And I know there's a question up there around how long does it take? Well, how long is a piece of string? I've seen, some transactions take, they could take minutes. Many taking hours, and we had one team come to us saying that they wanted to look at L1X because some of their transactions were taking up to 5 to 7 days. That should be totally unacceptable in DeFi. So the technology's there. We need it out there. We need to get more exposure, of course, and that'll happen. But I think it's really good to start seeing these comparisons there. So it's a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Yeah. And I think, I was thinking about it. I think we should rename XSwap. We should call it something else. I don't know what we should call it. So If the
Well,
community members have, yeah,
it's,
please.
I think, mate, you're absolutely spot on. I think our community can come up with a really good name for it to give us a better exposure out there, and I'm sure we can work out a reward for that. So it's spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure some of the members in the community, not the loyal ones, they're very good at coming up with names. So I'm sure that we can get them to come up with some name as well. Okay. Um, Anyways, let's move on to the questions. And for the next 10, 15 minutes, let's take up as many as we can. But if we can't finish it again in the next AMA, we'll do that as well, right? Um, so the first one is that, this Joy guy states on his LinkedIn that he has been an advisor from 2021. How is that a new role, right? Okay, that's fair enough. Now, you have to understand that, Joy is not he's known me before I even started L1X, and he likes going around and speaking about L1X. So informally, he has put that role up on LinkedIn from a very long time, and it was not even in 2021 that he actually started. He's not entered that date correctly, but anyways, he's made the change. And the reason we have added Jay is because Jay has actually he was one of the earlier investors into VGW Games, which is a billion-dollar gaming company in Perth. And he has recently joined Fund WA, where the WA government is funding tech startups or tech companies. Um, so him being on the board over there definitely gives us a good edge to present ourselves to the WA government. And he's also moving on to various different countries and investing into gaming projects, where one of the thing that I mentioned to him is they can use the swap technology integrated into their infrastructure. So that was the reason to bring him on. And he's definitely a very he's definitely a hardcore supporter of L1X. Like and to be honest, he hasn't even created his account to get the coins yet. That's the kind of guy he is. But he has complete trust in us, and with the level of backing that he has and what we are actually moving towards, we do need people like that. Okay. So how far are we on the compensation coins for public sale buyers? I will also advise you to take a look at the private sale buyers. Yeah. So there has been progress made over there. And in the next 2 weeks, so a few advisors and myself, we have sat down and we are looking at 2 to 3 different things in there, and I can't discuss the specifics about it yet because I don't want to give you wrong information, but or information that may not materialize later on. But we want to do a bonus rights and a rights issue, basically. And the goal over here is that we think that the community does not have enough L1X coins. And with that, being into picture, we are looking at 2 to 3 different strategies where there will be bonus rights or bonus issue given out to the public sale, and hopefully the private sale buyers as well, but as well as a rights issue where the average L1X price of a coin should be brought down to around 3 cents. Now, we have to be careful over there in doing that, because what will happen there is if we do give up too much right now, um, it can be difficult for the institutional investors to come in and say, okay, a lot has already been given out and recently. So we are looking at certain strategies in there where the first right for the issue will be given to the existing community members, and there will be certain underwriters that will be placed in there to take it up if the community members don't take up the rights issue. Now, more specifics about it will be released in the coming time, but I will also like to get the advisors on the call into an AMA where even they may be able to come in and explain why we are trying to do something like this. So definitely some good advice over there. Don't predict any information yet. Just wait for 2 more weeks. We are trying to get this information crystallized, and once we have that, we will present it across to reduce or to bring down the average L1X price for the community members. Okay, the next one is the Explorer going to allow read open deployed contracts like the other blockchain scanners? Yes, it is going to allow the contracts. At this particular stage on the Explorer, we are positioning the Explorer to give out more information on the swaps and the contract that you are actually interacting with on L1X. Although you can look at that contract from the developer toolkit perspective, to show it openly, there is a verifiable process that goes through it, which is you have to actually submit your contract, and then there is a team sitting down and actually verifying that the contract you have deployed and the code you are giving us is exactly the same thing. And that requires a little bit more resources on the Explorer team. So it is not in on the horizon right now in this month, but if we can definitely pick it up for this year sometime. If it's too much, if it's really required, we can definitely pick it up. Okay. I think the next question was about the restrictions on of opening L1X app on desktop. But as I said, um, if the way we are positioning the direct swap, because the fees are going to be considerably lower than the normal swaps, right? And when you go to L1X app, that's the first page you will see on the phones. So that's the only page we will be positioning. But what we are also working on is the mobile view version of the Explorer. So that's something that you will require as well. So these two things will be released, one after the other. Okay, what has happened to the concept of L1X coins as a universal gas fees in L1X swap? Um, Now, what we are anticipating over here is that this month is going to be given to the direct swaps, and we are not going to push the liquidity pools over there because we have already secured some funds to fund the liquidity on the swaps. But more importantly, uh, with the L1X as the universal gas fee, that module will come up when the swaps, that the direct swaps or even the transactions that are required for cross-chain interoperability, they start picking up. And at that particular point in time, once we know, okay, so the first phase is that whatever fees we collect, we are buying L1X out of it, right? But once we increase this SDK push and we start pushing it out to the aggregators out there, that's the time we can move into a model where a user wanting to do a swap can have the L1X coin and pay for the gas fee, because the wallet scheme or the cryptography is the same, right? That does require them to integrate the Xtalk SDK and all those sorts of things. So that's another whole project in itself. But at this particular stage, we are focusing on swaps, direct swaps, the APIs for the direct swaps to be given out to the aggregators and projects. That will be an eventual thing that will be picked up. So we have not, let that go. That is on the horizon. Okay, I think the next one is for Leono. Regarding the tickets raised on the L1X app, what are the realistic timeframes for having someone look at and reply those?
Okay, I'll have to check what kind of ticket it is. I would request you to get in touch with me on Discord, like a DM or even SB, and we will look into it. If it's regarding referral, then there might be a high chance that a few of the transactions might be missing and we are not able to match the values. So just get in touch and we'll resolve it within 24 to 48 hours. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is LBank withdrawal issues, right? The LBank withdrawal issues, we had a discussion with them. It has come down to positioning a market maker. And, we are discussing with a market maker sometime next week. So we have two of them available, but we are discussing with a newer market maker that, is more aligned with our futuristic goals that we have. And we expect to, complete the agreement with them in the coming weeks. So once the agreement is completed, I would probably give another 1 week on LBank, to open up, right? So they have actually come back a bit later on to us and said, okay, you need a market maker in there all the time. And we weren't focusing too much on L-Bank with the market makers. We were focusing on Mexi and Bitmart. That's where we saw most of the transactions happening. But anyways, we are speaking to a new market maker that will help us on L-Bank for that specific reason. Okay, the next one is the Explorer. Okay, as I mentioned, the Explorer currently we are focusing on making sure that all the swap-based transactions are done well. And we are also actually thinking about creating a new domain for the Explorer in itself, which is l1xexplorer.com, l1xswap.com, where you don't have to enter inside the L1X app to be able to do that. That does go against the whole concept of around L1X app. But as I see it, the same infrastructure is taken on a new domain. So if you don't want to get into it completely or on the phone, you don't want to get into it, we keep this infrastructure separate away. And the update on the Explorer, we are updating it on a weekly basis. I will look into where are we with the ability to show all the transactions or to expand the Explorer on that one single page or collapse it out. I don't know the specific date where it is positioned, but we do have it on the list. And again, if you do believe that the community members do think that we should have a different domain, right, for let's say the swap or the Explorer, please let us know. Like if you think that, it will help in multiple different ways, maybe get more traffic as well. I don't know. But if you think that's more, seamless to use, we can definitely work on that. But as I want to say, L1X app is going nowhere. That's something that we want to expand upon. We want to grow that, right? And slowly we will look at the other features that we have built and grow that out as well. But right now we are focusing on the swap, and that's the objective. Okay, moving on. Is the mobile swap app meant to be standalone, downloadable from Chrome or Apple Store? Okay, and all right. So the mobile swap app, basically, I don't know why it should be downloadable from Chrome, but it is going to be on l1xapp.com/swap. And right now, Lionel did show you that you have to click on a button to get into it. But we are thinking about, let's just directly give them the direct swap. And then the option 2 is connect your wallet, right? So it will be done through the website itself. There is no mobile app for that matter. But there will be the ability to, so this is what we are thinking on as well. We want to introduce the swap directly into the X wallet. Now, on your Google Chrome. Now, the reason we can do that is because the direct swap module is pretty flexible. So you could put it on the X wallet where you don't have to go to the website, right? And load it as a web app page where you just generate the wallet address. And you can either use the X wallet to send the money or go to your MetaMask and send the money. So you could just use your Google Chrome extensions to do the swap. You wouldn't need to go anywhere else. That's a clean feature to have. But of course, that's again in pipeline. First, we are releasing it on the website to demonstrate how seamless it's going to be, and how, cost effective that's actually, compared to the other ones. Can we have, okay, the next one is, sorry, I think Chief, this is for you. What job duties do Chief and Cody currently have?
Yeah, so the work that we've been focusing on has been around the DEX, helping the DEX guys, and also other projects. I think I've mentioned before that we've got another group that partnered with us. I've been working through with them around tokenomics. The initial, I won't say who they are, but yeah, the tokenomics model that they'd sent through was a bit mediocre. So I spent quite a bit of time drafting that up for them and working through it. So things like that. So it's really, and I think there was another question later on about focusing on individual projects. And I think that's the key, is that, we've got the core infrastructure there. We've got the nodes are starting to hum. They're starting to operate really well. We'll get the swaps out there. We'll get more knowledge out there about the transaction fees. but then it comes back to those projects and making sure we're going to get them on board. We've got a whole stack of others, yes, all sitting there, and some of them will move forward, some of them won't. The whole idea there is we find the ones that are going to give us the biggest benefit and increase the transactions and exposure out there, and that's what we'll be focusing on.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks for that. Okay, the next one is, can we have a permanent buy and burn feature built into the swap where a small percentage of fees are used to buy a price? Yes. So if you look at the swap fees, right, even if you go to the swap page right now and look at the description of the swap fees, there are three fees. One is the ex-stock fee. The other one is the liquidity provider, and the third one is the destination gas fee and ex-stock node commission, right? Now, what happens over here is that the liquidity provider fee, of course, goes to the people who have already staked in there, right? And it will be distributed to them. The second one is that there are two types of fees that we charge, basically. One is a base fee, and the other one is like it's more about the LP fee, but it's in percentage. The base fee is a static number, and that static number is again distributed or is decided based on two more things, which is the swap amount. So if it's less than 100, it's less than 500, less than 1,000, less than 5,000, and also across the different networks. One thing that we have definitely seen over here is that Ethereum, Solana, upcoming Tron, and Bitcoin, we will definitely be more cost effective than the other guys. And with the direct swap, even the EVM. What we want to do is we don't want to keep the swap fees too low always. If someone is charging you $4.50 to complete that swap, we don't want to be giving that at 70 cents. We want to charge $2 for that. So there will be a certain fat that is going to be, installed into the swap fee once we do more swap comparisons, once we see what users are swapping more, right? And this fat actually belongs to the L1X NFT tier holders from Rook and above. So this fat belongs to them. Now, definitely we can work out a mechanism, because what happens is the foundation does own majority of these NFTs, where it is issued but it's not given out, right? It's not given out to somebody's not bought it. So the fees that is collected by the foundation, let's say there are 100 NFTs where 50 or 60 or 70 NFTs are owned by the foundation, this fee will be distributed according to the ownership model. And when this fee is given to the foundation, a part of that will definitely be used towards buying back the coin from the market, and a part of that will be used towards operations expenses. So that's the idea. Now, we are not, I'm not saying that, we don't want to push the NFT tier because we want to keep all the swap fees, but at the same time, buying back on the market will also depend on, how much more fat we can install in that swap fees. So if we do install that fat, it will be cheaper than the other guys. And I don't want to go, I don't want messages about, it's not the cheapest. It is the cheapest, but uh, it's not going to be that low. We need to install that fat so that we can go and buy these coins from the market.
Kevin, I guess it would be cheapest with respect to time as such, like the speed that we are providing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's I'm excited on the direct swap as well, because the time will reduce over there considerably. Like, there are like out of
True.
1.5 minute, 30 seconds goes to approval and submitting it itself, right?
Yes, yes.
So that is going to be helpful. And I did one thing I want to bring it out. There was one person, Dr. Park, I think, that I don't know how that happened, and we are investigating that, but there was $6 charge, and it should not be that case. So we will refund you that amount, but also we were looking into why that was charged. Like, there are quite a number of transactions that are already done, and we didn't face that issue, more than I think 2 or 3%. So we are looking into that right now. It should not happen. We apologize for that inconvenience. So, okay, moving on. Is there any update from the blog joining the team or advisory? Yes, with Nitin Kaur, as I mentioned, yes. I think, L1X is does things quick. But there are certain times where things are not in my control, like he's speaking to his lawyer who's busy with some other things, right? But this week I do have a call with him, and we are going to get an update. Hopefully in the next AMA we have an update for you guys. I am pushing for that update as well. And not only that, I have also asked him to come on to the AMA, if possible in the next or the week after that, to explain what he thinks about L1X, and the strategies that he thinks that we should be adopting. Okay. The next one is, who are the marketing companies that have spent 3+ mil on marketing, and what did they spend the money on? Yeah. Um, we do have the names of them. I think we had, and I think Mike, just correct me over here, right? But we had Crowd Create that we were working with. We had those two blokes from the US that had their own company as an advisor. Um, so we had, the referrals that were given out, or the influencers also that were given out, right? We had Meltwater House for the system that we were actually paying out quite a bit of money as well over there. And I'm not too sure, but I think apart from this, there were two other companies. We can give you the list of the names that we worked with. But Mike, if you just want to,
Yeah,
remember that.
look, I think when you talk about those marketing companies, it's been one hell of a lesson, because what has taught us throughout that time, and it wasn't through lack of effort, the amount of time that we had on calls with them, and Matthew and myself and Cody and everybody, we were expecting them to actually, I shouldn't say give us that silver bullet, but to give us that exposure to help us get out there. And they might be good in the traditional world, but I think it's very rare to find a marketing person that or team that actually can deliver, unless you're paying them 10 or tens of millions of dollars. And then it's just massive exposure, and they just literally, almost like a shotgun blast, get it out there. And it's not something that's sustainable. And I think I've said this before, is that there was one of the chains, it might have been Avalanche, that spent about 100 million on marketing to pull in about $1 million in revenue. That, like I think I've said before, it's unsustainable. That might work for some, but it's not going to work for us. We've got to get out there with that organic, the organic growth, and bringing those projects on, getting the projects out there with transactions, and people then look at the back end and go, shit, how's that happening? How are they able to do it so much faster? How much, for cheaper fees? That's the key. It takes time. It's like mining. It takes a long time to get out there and dig a hole in the ground and get the approvals and do all that sort of thing for a mining company. But apply that across here, and when we're talking about infrastructure, it is slower on those markets, but it does get there. It just takes exposure.
Yeah. That's right. And I think, as you mentioned, right, it was a steep learning curve there.
It's for all of us.
Definitely. Yeah. So, yep. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the next one is, when is the audit? That's by Johnny Casino for the audit. And I think it's about the ELN notes. Okay. So, good news. We got the audit of the contracts that we had, from Ashlock as well. And there are no high-level security issues where the funds can be taken out, or there are certain issues that, may let us lose the funds. With regards to the issues that have come up, they are more operational related issues where, for example, where we are charging the fees, we are setting it, or sending it into a treasury account on every transaction. That can be avoided. We can batch those kind of transactions. So over the next week, we will be fixing these small issues in the contract. And once we fix them, Ashlock is going to pick it up again. And once they give us an updated report on the fixes that we have done, we will release the report to the community. The second update on the audit is, as I mentioned, October is the month where the core update will be given out. So, or the core audit. So we have reached out to Hashlock again, and currently this week we will be getting an estimate on what is going to be the cost of the complete L1X core audit. Now we are going to audit the VM again, because we have made certain changes on the L1X and the EVM side of things. So it will be in our best interest to get that audited as well. And once we get the estimate and 95%, we will be starting the audit process sometime next week for the core, which I think should not be anything less than 3 weeks, right? Because it's a huge code base and it has to be done thoroughly. There's every single line of code, every single function flow has to be checked there. So yes, we will be making sure that this month we, at least from our side or from their side, they try to complete most of the audit that has been done, and we will keep you updated if whenever we get any preliminary reports from there. But this month the core will be completely audited, and next month, after we fix any issues that come up from there, we want to open source the L1X core. The worst case scenario is open sourcing the L1X core by the end of the year. That's where I look at it, 3 months, because there is no undo button there. Once it's out, right? So we just want to make sure that all this audit that is being done, we change things up if it is required for the security issues. With second one, with the Xtalk node, as I was working on the Xtalk node infrastructure, and that is now using the swaps, and you're seeing the swaps working. Um, there are two more things that are in there. The first one is that we are making sure that the P2P, which is allowing you to connect Xtalk nodes to each other, are robust enough. Now we have taken the learnings of the L1X core and we are using that in the Xtalk, and I am myself going to code that part. So, hoping for that to be flawless. And the second one is that staking side of things. So the Xtalk node, we aren't going to release that this month for hosting, because there is quite a bit of work in terms of the optimization. I am expecting the Xtalk node to be hosted by November end, not before that. It won't happen before that. That's for sure. Because the optimizations that I have to do there is quite a lot of work. So it won't be given out before that. But the other part to it is L1X staking on the nodes is scheduled for this month, and we will be updating the L1X core thrice. So there is an L1X update going out on Tuesday next week that is going to include faster block proposing and transaction speed. So the Xtalk transaction that's taking 30 seconds, we expect that to reduce you know, by 33%, taking it to 20 seconds or 15 seconds. So we have updated the core for that. The second one is actually going to be updated where we have received certain feedback from the projects as to they need certain things on, it could be with the event messages, it can be with the transaction types. So we have updated that as well. And the third one will be with the staking. So by the end of this month, you will be able to stake your L1X coin into the nodes directly. So that's one of the other module that we are working on to be released this month. Yes, that said and done. Um, you know, I think the next one is about some projects, but okay. Anyways, let's just focus on what we currently have, which is the swaps and building the widget around it to be pushed out there over a period of next 3 months, like October, November, and December. Just to summarize, we are focusing on the swaps, the swap direct, and also making sure that L1X staking is coming into place. Xtalk node hosting is going to be there, and the audit reports to be completed in there, and a few other projects in pipeline that are building to be launched. So we do have these things in place, but at this time what we definitely need is the direct swaps being pushed to the aggregators, to the projects, and being used as a widget so that we can we can be known for the bridgeless swaps that we have always talked about, right? But in a more seamless way to facilitate that swap. So and again, thank you to all those Twitter community members. I do know that there are a few people, trying to come at us from all the various angles. And um, I think it's funny because at the end of the day, I think there are loyal community members that still believe in this. Like I have gotten calls with 3 to 4 different community members already and spoken to them about this. And with the new swap module, with the updated Xtalk system, positioning that at the core and pushing that showcases innovativeness or the utility where we definitely have uh, our core, which is our unique selling proposition, that we are hitting the bullseye straight away. That this is what we are good at. This is what we are going to push. And I don't reply back to, and the reason I'm saying this is so that I don't, and you understand why I don't reply back to such people on Twitter, is because my time and effort is to make sure that I do my best to push this protocol for the people who believe in it, right? And um, and of course, if they do push it further, I'm always known to be the guy who stands last, the last man standing. So I'm ready for it, right? Anything coming up, I'm 100% ready. Go for it. But yeah, I think we've had a good run in September. We wanted to push the swaps, we did that, and now it's time to just grow that particular module. So, and again, thank you for all your patience and support. Yeah, Mike, Neeraj,
Yeah,
you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to add one little thing, and it, I think we've maintained a stand of not commenting to some of the negative that people have put out there in some areas, and one of them is around the code, about how much there's teams that have been, or people have been turning around saying when you're releasing all the source code, doing all that sort of thing. And I think it was a good answer. That you get one chance to do it right. You want to make sure everything is good. But it's interesting that there's other teams out there that that haven't released their code ever. And I think some of the people that are raising those questions should go back and look at some of the other projects that they've dealt with and see if they've actually ever released any code. And I think you'll find they haven't. So anyway, just a little aside.
Yeah, and again, it takes a lot. I mean, taking the whole infrastructure and demonstrating, like, this is not an EVM chain, layer two. Like, if you look at so many different chains out there where, you just take a look at the wormhole, scenario. Like, price of the coin has never recovered, like after pushing all these swaps. So does using the swap only help us? It wouldn't. But what is going to happen is, the innovativeness we are pushing into direct swaps. From there will be multiple different things that come up, such as, integrating into launch pads where you don't have to connect your wallet and buy a new token, right? And I think there are a few community members that have got, they've clicked on the wrong approval and their money goes out, right? So avoiding all these things. So hang in there. Yeah. Okay. Neeraj or Leonard, do you want to say something and
Yes,
let
Kevin.
our community
Like
members know? Yeah.
definitely the discussion that we had today with respect to swap specifically, I'm more excited to see how swap direct would work because, like as you very correctly said, like we'll be saving a lot of time as well as money as well when we want to go for direct swap. So that is what is like definitely we are looking forward for, and I guess even the community would be eager to know to have that functionality working as such. So yes, like from my perspective, it was good to connect with the community after say 6 months as such, because last time I was a part of AMA was when we discussed about block rewards and transaction fees as such. So it's good. Yeah, that's
It's
from my
always nice to
end.
have you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, same here.
Yeah, and a huge thanks to the community. They were eagerly waiting for the swaps to be optimized and go out. And before even I announced, there were a few users like who were always going and checking, and we just did a few transactions. And once I had a good rest, I did message that like just go and try. It's available, and I'll be like constantly monitoring. Got a good feedback. There were not much issues, but more on the feedback side, and we hope we push the swap feature with the new updates coming up as well, with the revenue generating, and as promised to the L1X app, NFT holders, you will be receiving the commission out of it.
Yeah, we'll work on that module now. So I've got a meeting with these guys in the next 2 hours. So we'll work on the module where you can see the total swaps, so all the stats as well. So you know that the swaps have, and we'll give you the data from the time we actually launched the swap, right? So you have all that data as well. But yeah, again, yeah, if any one of you don't have anything more to say, I think that was a good AMA. And I hope I answered most of the questions, but if not, we'll definitely answer it again in the next week. Thank you for coming in. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.